We're getting something out of the vending machine.
Oh, yeah. Chicken nuggets, edamame, a garden salad, a ham and cheese sandwich, a slice of cake, yogurt melts. That's what's in the vending machine. Let's go yogurt melts.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I'm a therapist.
And I'm Tyler, and I'm a patient.
We're going to talk about trauma, healing, and everything. Everything is traumatic.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, and whoa there. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. Knock, knock, who's there? It's the Eternal Dread. Get into your safe spaces, and welcome back to the podcast.
That was good.
Oh, thanks.
You really pulled that together.
Yeah, I really had to hype myself up.
Yeah, we're real low energy over here.
Yeah. But that's okay, because we're going to have a good episode.
Yeah.
As you can see, Jeff is not here. That's okay. Wah, wah. But that's all right, because we got a favorite guest back, friend of the podcast, Sandy Pickles, everybody.
Hey.
Hey. The easiest person to ask to be on the podcast because I live with her.
Top 5 reasons to live with me. Can be a last minute guest on the podcast.
Yeah, she will reluctantly do the podcast. But this week we're going to be talking about wanted to do something a little different. If you guys are going to ask where Jeff is, obviously he's still traveling. You know how he is. He goes out. He's able to do those things. I mean, I guess we all are, but like he just likes to travel. He travels more than I do. I don't really leave anywhere. But
You went to Virginia recently.
Oh yeah, that's true. I did.
Yeah, you had a boys' weekend.
I had a boys' weekend
in Virginia.
It was great.
Yeah.
I watched a lamb get crucified.
Okay. Well,
I know I'm making it sound more like a cult.
it was 0 to 100. Absolutely.
Well, it was already a death.
We don't.
Anyways, though, but yes, I had a boys' weekend, but sometimes the boys get together and someone gets crucified. That's all I'm saying. You get a few in us.
Oh my God.
We start talking philosophical. Someone's going to get nailed to the cross. It happens. I actually want to talk about, I don't know what a fucking name of the episode will be. We'll figure it out when I figure that out. But I want to ask Sandy, just kind of her time of being like a mental health worker, and in a hospital or psych ward.
Yeah, it's a state hospital.
State hospital. Yeah, it's a state hospital.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, this is gonna be kind of just like I don't know what kind of I don't know what kind of episode, honestly, but we're gonna talk about that.
You can't even call it like the anti-episode because that would be like the 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah, I mean, we can only use that excuse for so much.
Yeah,
but I think this can be a good episode regardless. It could be a good podcast.
Yes. It could be a masterpiece and a work in progress all at the same time.
You should take down the Sims here.
Oh.
And because we need to read the email.
Oh, I didn't realize there was an email.
There's always an email.
Always?
There has been. Let me say that.
Okay.
It has been from the same person. But if anyone wants to email us again, that is everythingistraumatic@gmail.com. We'll read your emails and, ask us questions. Desperately wanting questions. You just fucking. Oh, you see it?
Is it that one?
Yes.
Okay. I know
the
what an email is.
it's from your favorite it's from your favorite person, Vinwin.
Yes. Was it Vinwin Scott the last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
He regularly, he's the one who's been writing in the most.
Right. I guess I didn't remember the Scott. I just remembered Vinwin, but
Yeah. And this actually does concern his name, so it's good that you're getting it mixed up. So if you wouldn't mind to read the email.
oh, mercy. Okay. Dearest absent Jeff, Tyler, and corporate Ken, I am not sure if it was out of my loyalty as a listener or just my curiosity, but I did tune back in to listen to your podcast again. I appreciate you taking the time to address my previous email and to take it to the corporate level. I noticed there was some difficulty with my name and I thought I should explain. Vinwin Scott is not my given name. My real name is Vincent Winifred Scott Michael James McTavish III. McTavish.
I think McTavish
Okay.
is how I read it.
It feels McTavish.
It feels a bit
Yeah.
McTavish.
Okay. The third. As you can see, that is way too long, and I was often teased as a child by others, being called Vinny Winnie the Pooh, and that was by my teachers. The other students were more cruel. I also decided to shorten my name to distance myself from my family. Yes, I no longer have access to the family funds to become your sugar daddy, but I have the freedom that I have now. Yeah, I have the freedom that I have now from the burdens of wealth has made it a truly traumatic life I now lead. That is why I found your podcast and why I listen. I am sure, like many of your other listeners, I am, however, getting tired of being the only one who seems to write emails. I think there was one other person's you read a few episodes ago, but for the most part, it has been just me. I want to encourage your listeners to write emails so you can move on for me like everyone else in my life has. Dramatically yours, Vinwin.
Oh, Vin. No, what a very thoughtful email. Sandy, what are your thoughts? Because you kind of had an issue with them. You and Jeff kind of put them down a few episodes ago.
I mean, it's not him, it's the joke, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
anybody can write a bad joke.
Yeah. It's not a reflection of his personal.
No.
But Vin, I appreciate you writing in, and I'm sorry about the family troubles, and that kind of sucks. Vinny Winnie the Pooh, I hope you do write us soon, and I hope our listeners do too at everythingistraumatic@gmail.com. That's EVERYTHINGISTRA. Fuck no.
You were doing so
I know.
mediocre.
I know. That's the public education system, folks. And my own limitations. But yeah, so Sandy, you've done mental health work.
Smooth transition.
Sliding in there like it's a DM.
Yes, I've done mental health work.
Sorry. I'm thinking of like, I said sliding in DM. Now we're just going to deconstruct this joke. Sliding in DM. I'm thinking of like for Sandy's stand up. Because Sandy she has like, you talk a lot about like BDSM and stuff. It's like sliding in the DMs. But for you, it's like Dungeon Master. Terrible. We'll cut that out. This is terrible. No. But okay, so yeah, I'm trying to even just think of like, I'm not really good with questions.
Oh, okay. Prepared as usual, Tyler.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me try something here. So what You worked a mental. You worked at the state hospital, and it was like what?
I worked at the state hospital, which is kind of end of the road long-term care. I also did behavioral health, like one-on-ones, as a behavioral health tech, working with young adults that had autism.
Yeah.
So, I mean, very different settings, very different conditions. Yeah, it's, I mean, both mental health, but apples to oranges, essentially.
Yeah. And so, I guess, is that something you've always wanted to do from a young age, or did you want to get into that line of work?
Well, I mean, as you know, I never really planned to like make it into adulthood. So it was not really anything that like I dreamt of doing. But I've always, I think people kind of have like just in general, kind of like a morbid fascination with things that you see like depicted in the movies, like schizophrenia or bipolar, and like, or if you have family members and you've experienced things with that, like, I think people are naturally curious how it happens, why it occurs, what do you do with that information? Yeah, so it was never anything that like I set out to do necessarily. But it was a job I had wanted. I had known someone that had worked there, and just, I don't know, wanted to give it a shot. So I cleaned my piss begrudgingly, and and then they didn't even piss me, which was ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. Actually, did I ever tell you about how awful that interview was?
No.
So like that was my first like big girl job. I probably got that job when I was like 19. And so it was like a pretty big deal. And I was so nervous. Like, when you have an interview, like generally it should feel more like a conversation and less like an interview, similar to what you're doing. And I felt just like very flat and like had a hard time having a conversation with this woman because I was super intimidated. And like as soon as I left the interview and left the campus, I just like started bawling. I had to pull over onto the side of the road because like I felt so badly about how I had done. Aww. And like I wanted this job in the worst way. And I actually called her back like maybe an hour afterwards and was just like, hey, I acknowledge that like that was a really bad interview, but like don't let that be like a reflection of like my abilities. Like I was just really nervous and intimidated.
Oh.
And then I worked there for like 4 years.
Yeah, because so they were like, oh, she came back and groveled. Of course we're going to give her...
It's the government.
This is what we need.
You'll get there. Yeah, exactly. We need someone to beg us to work here.
We need a titty baby.
Yes. So... Oh my God. How right you are.
So, and then you ended up working there, and like, so... And I just know from like some of the stories you've told me of like having to deal with like restraining patients, or do you call them patients or clients?
We called them consumers.
Consumers.
Which is probably like the most ridiculous what's like a noun I've ever used for someone that I have provided a service for.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't know what their what the science was behind that name. I think it was more like they didn't want them to like feel like a patient because they call it a hospital, but it's nothing like a hospital. It's very much like government housing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, restraining, I'm going to call them patients because I'm just more comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. Restraining patients was a very small portion of the job, like a very, very small percentage. When I don't know if they do this with everyone. I don't know if they place women more often or younger people or people of like a smaller stature. but they placed me on a geriatric unit. So people that are older, but also have schizophrenia or have schizoaffective disorder. Because in order to be at this hospital, you were involuntarily committed. And typically with that, there's something, I don't know if it's insurance or something on the side of the law that states they like basically have to be schizoaffective or schizophrenic to qualify for that kind of an arrangement. But we had, I mean, easily some of the sickest people that you would meet, but you're less likely to be attacked by someone in their 70s than in their 20s or 30s.
Right.
So,
well, I guess so. Like, what was the day to day kind of like? I guess.
I mean, generally, you just kind of felt like a glorified babysitter. You sat and you watched and listened and reported back to people that could actually make phone calls and decisions. But it was really just observation and like building rapport with them while they are at baseline. So kind of like engaging in whatever activity your patients are engaging in. So it could have been watching TV, it could have been coloring, it could have been playing cards. But on second shift, it was a lot of like taking people, we would do meals and they have like set times for medications and, you have showers and laundry. So it's a lot of just like assisting them with what would be like their household chores and their activities of daily living. And just kind of hanging out, really. I mean, a lot of it was pretty chill most of the time. And when it wasn't, it wasn't. But I mean, yeah, most of the time it was pretty cakey. You just, have to be aware of your surroundings and be able to, it's a people that are very empathetic or that have a high arousal state. And by arousal, I just mean like not necessarily paranoid, but like they're very easily able to like observe just changes in people, changes in their environment, kind of sense that incoming, if that makes sense. So a lot of it is just sitting around and looking.
Just kind of
taking it all in.
Yeah, just kind of like just assisting them in their day-to-day life and making sure they don't self-harm or
right
or hurt anyone else
if you have a patient who is typically engaged with their surroundings and their peers and the staff, someone that's normally able to hold a conversation, if they become more distant or more quiet or they're talking more to themselves or a lot of people, at least in my experience with schizophrenia, are religiously preoccupied. So that can sometimes be a tell if they are going to cycle or are having some kind of an episode or maybe like not adjusting well to a new medication or have run its course with their current med list. It's just trying to learn what people's normal behavior is day to day and knowing, what things in their environment can kind of trigger a potential crisis.
Right.
So, yeah.
Oh.
We're just big chilling.
Yeah, for the most part, you guys are just kind of playing rummy most of the day and like chilling and
wiping
hanging
the
out.
floor with those motherfuckers.
Just running the table.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I mean, when I did go there, like I was really interested in like the emergency response side of it. Like I was interested in those crisis situations because I am just a little bit more of a hypervigilant person. So typically jobs that have like a more intense work environment seem to be kind of more comfortable for me. And I, as someone who has struggled with mental illness, I was able to empathize with a lot of individuals, and I think I'm just a more laid back person. I have kind of a different opinion of mental health than I think a lot of people do. So I think I was more approachable, because I would, to some extent, like let my guard down. Whereas I think other people couldn't really put that down, which is fine. I mean, there's no right way or wrong way to do it, but both have different outcomes. So because I felt as though I had a good rapport with a lot of people, and you go to different units in different buildings and you learn those people, and I worked a lot of overtime, so they would typically put you on a unit that was not your home unit for overtime. And because I knew a lot of people and felt really confident in my skills to like de-escalate individuals, I joined the what was known as PERT, which was the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team. So anytime there was a code, it was like me and my team and I, whatever, that would
grammar
that would strategically be deployed, for lack of better words.
So you ended up bumping your way up to the...
Yeah, I mean, it's not it's not as like highly coveted as it sounds like.
Right.
I would say that like a great deal of the employee base there were people who were just like totally jaded and thought that like a state hospital was like a waste of government money and like our tax dollars and shit. So like they couldn't really care to like go and respond and try and help someone de-escalate. And then you had people that just weren't interested in like deliberately putting themselves in danger, which is again totally understandable. But yeah, and especially on second shift, like day shift had more of a team, night shift was totally screwed, but second shift was kind of somewhere in the middle. So it was a pretty small team, and it was just like voluntary. No one got paid anything anything else. It was just people who gave a little extra of a shit joined this team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so like, I mean, I think going back a little bit and just touching on like, you okay?
Yeah, I just feel like I'm breathing very heavy into the mic, and
No, you're
I'm not
fine.
like
No,
having
you're-
a panic attack. I
No,
just
no.
don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
breathe into the mic.
It's okay. It's okay. If it's that bad, we'll take it out. If not, it's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. See, mine is now going to overpower any worries.
Okay.
I think, like you said, there isn't a right way or wrong way to do it, but I think it's a good characteristic to have if you're going to do mental health work, to let that guard down and be personal with these consumers or patients or whatever. Like, I mean, because they're human beings. Like, you don't
Right.
want to dehumanize them, but you want the best for them. You want them to thrive. You want them to live the best life they can under these circumstances they have.
Right.
And I think being like cold and distant about it is, I get having like a level of detachment from them, because you never know, like one day there could be fine and you guys are like buddy, and then all it takes is one episode for them to flip.
Right. And I think that like people were
What is that? A piece of little
a little piece of cheese on my shirt.
Is that a little cheese on your shirt? You found a little cheese on your shirt there, Sandy?
Jesus Christ. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. I think a lot of people have seen that happen, where, you think that you have a good relationship with a patient, and then for whatever reason, whether they're being manipulative or whether they're episodic and like unable to tell like reality from their own, oh my God.
From their own like kind of delusions?
Yes, that's another way of saying it. What I was looking for is stimulation. There we go. Okay, sorry. That was going to drive me nuts. Great.
This is a nice inside joke me and Sandy have whenever she says drives me nuts.
Driving me nuts.
Yeah. Because the phrase itself sounds very piratey.
It is piratey. Yeah,
If next time you say it's driving me nuts, think of it as a pirate. It's great. It's good
10
shit.
out of 10.
Brandon, I'm talking to you. If you're listening, yeah, it's driving me nuts.
Oh, that's silly. What the fuck were we talking about?
We were talking about
Seeing that switch in patients.
Yes.
And so I think people are not totally unreasonably jaded. It all makes sense. And I don't know that I would necessarily really describe anyone there as like cold, but there's some people that will go out of their way to have a conversation with people, and then there's people that won't. And then there's people that do go out of their way to speak to certain patients, and then staff get the wrong idea. Staff gossip about, oh, well, why are they being buddy with one another? So it's just all very like political and dramatic.
Yeah.
And there's such an overabundance of like abuse allegations within the state hospital systems. And I'm not saying that a lot of them aren't founded or based on reality, but I'm saying that there's a great deal of them that are not. And so you do have to be careful not to cross any kind of line, and be very mindful of not even just what you're saying, but knowing who you're saying it to, how they take things, what their history is. So it is very, it is kind of high stakes. You do have to be very watchful, and some people want to just avoid the possibility at all costs. And I can appreciate that, because as someone who has been a face to a lot of patients in crisis during really vulnerable moments, when you are a prominent staff member to a patient, that can work against you just as much as it can work for you. So people have their reasons, and I feel like they're all justified. And yes, in most areas of mental health, I would say that it is therapeutic for the person that you are providing services to be able to acknowledge your humanity as a person that participates in their support plan. 9 times out of 10, that's a beneficial thing, is to be approachable and be warm and kind and open and, share enough to be relatable, but not so much that, you cross that line from support to friend. Like, but yes, in most cases, it's good to be that way with an individual. But in certain populations with certain diagnoses, there's a great deal of, it can be very beneficial to just kind of take a back seat.
Yeah. And I see what, I see what you're saying. 'Cause you said it perfect with like, you can't cross that line. Like,
right.
You can't be their friend. You
right.
are their support. You are their support.
Yeah.
So you got to have like that boundary, that distance. But, well, no, but I thought I was going to burp.
Oh, there she goes.
There's a bear. Yeah. There she goes.
Jesus Christ.
But I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a good approach. I think it's a very kind approach. And like, and again, I only have like some of the little stuff that you told me, like some of the stuff that
the most ridiculous shit
that you've seen patients do.
Absolutely bananas.
And there was one you worked into your stand-up set, I think, about the guy watching.
Oh yeah, he was a very eccentric individual in every aspect. Like, he was, I would say, like mid-60s, mostly bald man. And he was on the shorter side. I would say that he was like no taller than like 5'6". And he dressed in camo from head to toe. He would wear a camo hat, a camo vest, camo pants. He would wear combat boots. He had like several shitty like jail looking tattoos, and was very rough and abrasive. He had a big voice. And he had never served in any branch of any military a day in his life, but he had this very soldier-like persona.
He was
about
he was
him.
a cops player.
Cosplayer, yeah,
Cops player, yeah.
But he was just wild and schizophrenic, and he had a lot of very interesting beliefs that I usually thought were very funny and endearing and harmless, actually. And he was. I mean, he was totally harmless. I don't think he ever hurt anyone in the years that I was there, maybe in his prime, but not in the state he was in. But yeah, he thought he was married to Stevie Nicks. He thought like all of the nursing staff was like related. And I mean, in his defense, we were all like heavy set women with like brown hair, brown eyes, and like big personalities. So I mean, it's
He
not for
wasn't-
nothing.
Yeah, he wasn't. He's not thinking wrong.
Yes, he's wrong, but it makes sense.
I would think that.
Right. But the one thing that everybody knew about this man was that after 10 p.m., he would come to the nurse's station and get the remote and ask for a certain channel in a small kind of communal day room area. But after, a lot of people get heavy meds, especially at night. So he was only like one of maybe 3 stragglers. And even the other patients knew, like, after 10 p.m., don't go to the small day room, because this man was going to be masturbating to the Home Shopping Network 100% of the time. And, like, he yelled at everyone a lot. And you just, at 10 o'clock, you're really tired of getting yelled at. And so a lot of the time we just let it go. Like, as long as there was no one else up, or we'd tell him, like, hey, you can't do that. But like chances are he wasn't gonna not do that. But there was just a night where I don't know where I was headed, but I walked past the small day room and there he is, just fucking whacking it in the dark. And I stopped, and I didn't yell at him, but I talked loudly to him and was just like, come on, man, like, you can't have your dick out in the day room, put it away. And like, we all knew that he would watch like HSN or QVC or any of those kind of like shows, those late night weird fucking cable shows. And I had to know, like, why QVC? Why are you watching and whacking it to these women that are modeling rings that, like, it was just so absurd, so absurd. And he just had a very simple answer, and he was very strong in his conviction, and it was that they wanted to watch. There was no arguing with him. And like, even if I had wanted to, like, he just, by like the hill that he was willing to die on for this, like, I believed him. I believed that this woman on television, like, somehow got a message to him that's like, hey, we just really want to watch you whack it.
Yeah.
While
It's
we
like-
try and pitch these 7 payments of $49.99 to someone's like financially abused grandmother.
And look at this beautiful diamond ring, folks. And I hope you're whacking it to it, because we want to watch. But we
And
also
give
wanna-
us a pearl necklace. Oh, can we get a shot of that? Yeah, get that in the light.
Get that
Look
in
at
the
it
light.
glisten.
Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. I hope you're stroking hard there. 'Cause-
Yeah, that was his reason of why he watched those women, is because they wanted to watch
They wanted to
him.
watch. I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah, he was front row and center, right in front of that
I'm just-
encased television.
And so, of course, I'm gonna mention it and just assume that like the facility itself was probably very like had a tight budget because it's a government facility.
Oh boy, yeah, you're not kidding. There was a time on like my home unit where we had like a hygiene closet, and in that hygiene closet it housed deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, denture cleaner, Q-tips, shaving razors, shaving cream, like all the, any kind of hygiene product that we obviously had to have locked up because some things like had chemicals in them. We have razors in there that, I mean, they're like safeguarded and blah, blah, blah. But like if somebody slips in and grabs one, there's, you can't say for certain that they can't get that open and harm themselves with it. So obviously all these things have to be locked. And I don't know, one day the door just broke, like the lock on the door. Nobody could get this door locked, and it probably took them a week to get us a new door. And I know that doesn't sound like a long time, but you're talking about like 24 hours a day around the clock that door is open, and therefore providing someone that is mentally ill with an opportunity to harm either themselves or someone else. And even if they didn't mean to, we had people that had like co-occurring disorders, and we had a couple people that had pica, so they would eat anything that they could find. So you have like deodorant in there. Deodorant contains alcohol, and I'm sure a lot of other really horrible chemicals. Like, I mean, tubes of toothpaste. There's nothing, I mean, just, I couldn't tell you anymore what was all in there. But I mean, we would have like those toothbrush cases, the plastic ones. Somebody could break that plastic and eat it, or harm themselves with it, or stab someone with it. Like, there's great means of opportunity in that closet.
It's a closet of death for someone with pica.
A closet of death. And it was just like, maintenance would come by like maybe once every other day to check this or that or the other thing. And it would be very much like, hey, Jeff, when are we getting that new door? I don't know. It hasn't gotten here. See you tomorrow. Just like, it was very casual. And it had no business being casual.
The host always has to light a guest cigarette. Yeah.
But I think, the time that it was like most obvious, toward the end of my employment there had been laws that were changed within the state, and they were working toward discharging people from these hospital settings to more like one-on-one community settings where it would be like 2 people to a whole house. And anyway, there was just a lot of changes coming. So they were sending a lot of people out so that they could take a lot of people in. And they were taking people in from prisons. And so I'm assuming it was some move from the governor to try to like claim that he was like
helping
like
out
the prison
and
population or something absolutely obscene and disgusting. But we were getting people from prisons that, while they were mentally ill and bipolar or maybe schizoaffective, without their mental illness, they were still dangerous human beings because of their upbringing, the environment they were raised in. And this isn't everyone, obviously, but there was, just maybe like 2 or 3 that you could tell were very like resourceful, street smart people that had learned how to adapt, survive, protect, guard. They knew how to get the things that they needed to survive, and they would do so at all costs. And believe it or not, we had in our cafeteria where they ate breakfast, lunch, dinner, we had silverware. Just regular silverware, forks, spoons, knives, like butter knives, but it doesn't matter. Toward the end of my employment, I remember like having to do unit checks after every meal, because the kitchen staff, the dietary staff, was responsible for counting how many packs of silverware went out and how many packs came back. And so if they were missing anything from a pack or an entire pack, we had to find it. And this was becoming almost like a daily occurrence. And that the team of people, we had gone to our CEO at the time, and we tried to like, hey, you guys are wasting a lot of man hours by searching for this silverware. Like, you're agitating patients. Like, the whole unit is becoming bothered because after their mealtime, they're now having to endure these searches that can go on for an hour because you have 20 rooms on a unit and you have 3 units in a building and 3 buildings on campus. So it's like, it greatly disturbed everyone's routine, which is not conducive to like peace within a mental health facility. Routine is usually very important.
Yeah.
So we went to her with these concerns and really urged her to get plasticware. And she had a very short and sweet response, and that's too expensive. It was too expensive for them to get plasticware in lieu of silverware, even though that silverware could be used to start a fire. Because that's what the people that were coming from prison were lighting cigarettes in the bathrooms, and they were doing so by getting standing on the counter and getting into like the fire alarm thingy, that's on your ceiling, and getting into outlets by like prying it open with the kitchen knives, and like we're being able to light their cigarettes. But like you could also you could detach the lock for the fire extinguisher, and that had happened. One of the patients on a unit got a hold of a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguishers not only are incredibly heavy, blunt objects, they're also full of really powerful chemicals. Mm-hmm. So setting that off in an enclosed area is really dangerous for people to inhale if they get it in their eyes and their mouth. It's sitting on their skin. Anyway, it was a whole thing. You have all these incidents that are occurring, and I mean, I feel like inevitably someone's going to get stabbed, right? Either with a fork or a butter knife.
No, that's been my big thought the whole time. Is like, you're going to stab someone with it.
Right. And you're telling me if an employee or another patient got stabbed, like fatally stabbed by their peer, you would have like all of their medical bills, like their like end of life cost, you would have their funeral costs. Like that sounds really costly. It sounds really costly to pay someone to be out of work because they have an injury. Like all of those things are costly. So like for you to try and cut costs on something by like literally not giving them weapons, like that sounds like a pretty good thing to invest your money in.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe you should do the bare minimum of taking care of your of the people who are mentally ill, and have mental health problems. I'm sorry.
Right. And when someone has a goal of like harming themselves or someone else, or even just lighting a cigarette, they're resourceful people and they're going to find a way.
Yeah.
But like, we also shouldn't be giving them tools to make that easier and allow for like an increase in frequency and severity. Oh, it's bananas.
So, Sandy, I think we might have to do like a part 2 or something
about that
in the future or something. Yeah, because I mean we've already talked for almost an hour.
Oh man, that was fast.
Yeah, it's been very quick.
We didn't even say hi to the Swedes.
Hi, Swedes.
Oh, and is it Venezuelans? Would it be Venezuelans?
I don't.
Didn't you say there was 2 listeners from Venezuela?
I don't know if it was Venezuela, or I saw that we had some from Israel. I thought it was Brazil or something.
Maybe it was Brazil.
I think it was something like that. But guys,
well, hey, everybody around the world,
everyone around the world, why don't you drop us a line at our on our email? Everything is dramatic. Everything is traumatic. All together. Everything is traumatic at gmail.com. Sandy, thank you so much for talking about. Oh, I guess like one more thing to kind of wrap it up. Do you have any like takeaway from like your experience in that field? Like, and I guess we could save that for a second part, or like any advice for anyone with mental health issues or crises? Like, should they go to
I mean, if it interrupts the quality of your daily life on a regular or routine basis, if you have more bad days than good days, there are resources. It's not easy. It's not fun. It's not always a good time. You don't always have good providers. But for every really disappointing provider, there's like at least 3 that, if not, will not save your life entirely, they will give you information that you can use to save yourself daily.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something I'm kind of learning too. And like, there is tools, there are things you can reach out to, and
Yeah.
I think that's something we'll explore in the future. But Sandy, thank you for coming on, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for sharing your experience with this. I think I would love to do a part 2, maybe with Jeff or something in the future. Yeah, I would love to have other therapists on, other mental health workers. Looking at you, Brandon. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Check us out on the social medias. Email us at the email I've said numerous of times. But I'll say it again. Everything is traumatic at gmail.com. From all of us here at Everything is Traumatic, this has reached its logical conclusion. We fucked the duck. We've shit the turd. I'm Tyler.
I'm Sandy. Be kind, don't litter.
And as always, be kind, don't litter.